the round 4 wrap-up and the round 5 preview. It is... I don't think I've ever introduced myself on this episode, which is kind of strange. My name's Peter. I haven't done that before. I don't know why I haven't done that before. It's kind of like 101 media thing to do, is introduce who I am, and I haven't done it before. But it's another Nerds for Life Supercoach episode. I'm your host, Peter. Now you know who I am, if you didn't already. And before I kick off all the Supercoach chat, I just want to do something. Last week, I was wearing my Richmond scarf and Richmond jersey, and now I'm putting it in the trash. Because, man, that was a shit game to watch. That was, honestly, one of the worst AFL games I think I've seen. Richmond started, like, they just went bang, 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 and then just stopped. St Kilda didn't kick a goal till a minute left of the second quarter, and they still managed to win. I don't even know. I don't even know. Anywho, Supercoach. Now, I haven't been keeping up with the group winners yet, so I'm so sorry for the previous group round winners, but we have a Nerds for Life Supercoach group that is open. It is in the description below, so whether you're listening to this on YouTube or on Spotify, you can find the group code below, so you can get on that, and I will be talking about the winner and giving him a little shout out at the end of every week during each week's episode. So Nick's Choreo Kings was the group winner. Congratulations, Nick. Massive score as well, so congrats. Now, before we kick off, I just wanted to mention the places that you're listening to this. If it's on YouTube, Spotify, Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, or X, formerly known as Twitter, please make sure to subscribe, follow us, make sure that you stay up to date with all of our content, because I do post quite regularly, and I promise some of it's pretty good. Now, I won 9 out of my 10 leagues, and I lost one by a little, like a whisker. It was just a whisker, and it was very annoying, because had I fielded Darcy instead of Cadman, I would have smashed him by about 40 points. But anyway, I'll accept the 9 out of 10. I'm pretty happy with it. It was a pretty good week, a big week after the buys. You know, it was best 22, and it was fantastic to see. Guys like Sheasel, Bont, Martin, Rao, Heaney as captain, all fired. It was fantastic to see. Howes and Cadman sputtered up. Actually, Cadman wasn't too bad. It's just because he technically... I feel like he lost me my matchup. But then I thought about it, and it actually wasn't too bad. It wasn't too bad. Cadman actually did a decent job. He did, he's going to make money. He's still making money. I'm happy. I'm happy with the selection overall. I also want to point out that I won my second game, 2 out of 3 in the Supercoach PodMasters. If you haven't already, do check these guys out, because all your favorite podcasters and Supercoach journalists are in this one league, and I'm in it too. There's about 30 of us, separated between 2 different leagues, and we're going head to head to find out who is the best Supercoach Pod Master. And I've got details in the description below as well, so you can check that out. It's actually really cool. I go up against some of the Supercoach co-captains, the Dr. Supercoach boys, as well as some Herald Sun and Code Sports journalists. Like, it's pretty cool. I can't believe that I was invited to this, I'm going to be honest. I'm thrilled that I was invited to this. And the fact that I've beaten a couple of them, wow. I just want to point out that we also had some huge scores from guys like Libba. So for those who have held him, congrats on doing so. For those who dumped him, sorry, my condolences. Rosie was fantastic as well. Finally got to see some amazing form from him. He really reaped the benefits of not having Ollie Wines there this week. Marshall was fantastic, and he is my trade-in target this week, my major one. Steele, as I predicted last week, went absolutely ballistic, was fantastic. I still don't know how, because St Kilda couldn't hit a target in their forward line to save their lives, and they were even worse in front of goal, but we got there, and Track was fantastic as well. Now, we're into round 5, and we've almost reached DDP season, so we've almost reached the point in time where we're going to get all these dual position players, and we've got a long list of players that are going to get DDP. Some of the more notable ones are guys like Nick Martin, Holmes. Sanders is going to be midfield forward, which will be actually some relief in our forward line. We're going to have guys like Clohesy, who is a rookie that a lot of people are thinking of bringing in. He will get midfield status potentially. Charlie Comben. Heaney will get midfield status as well, but let's be real, we're going to keep him in our forward line. Roberts will go into defence too, McKercher. So there's a lot of players that we're going to have some flexibility, finally, because at the moment, our teams are all midfield and just kind of thin everywhere else. So it'd be good to get some decent options elsewhere and make some moves, which will be handy. We've got a few rookies that are maxing out. So for those guys that have Tom Berry, is it Tom Berry? Yeah, Thomas Berry and Blake Howes. Those guys are now starting to max out. Howes' BE is pretty much above what he's actually scoring in the last couple of weeks, while Berry is well above his break even. The only issue is with these sort of guys is that I don't know who we're trading him down to, and I'll explain that a little bit later on, because we've got some rookies on the bubble. We've got some rookies that we might be considering taking a punt on early. We have some premiums that people are thinking about jumping on top of, and we've also got questions, which is what I'm going to be jumping to next. So every week I ask my listeners whether they've got any, desperate questions they want answered. And I've done that this week, and I've gotten a massive one response from Twitter. But I got some more responses off Facebook as well. So I will be answering all your questions now. I'm just going to throw to it now, I suppose. Marty Holden. Thoughts on Comben trade target? I don't mind it. Now, Charlie Comben is someone that has been in the AFL system for a few years. He's had some injury issues. Now, he's 299k, which is that real awkward stuff. No, that's Colby McKercher. What have I clicked on? Charlie Comben. Sorry about that. People are trading out Colby McKercher? 2,800... Sorry, we're just going to go back to that. His break-even's 43. He's going to make another 13k this week. He had one average game and people are jumping off him. What? No, don't do that. That's a terrible idea. Don't do that. He's about to get DDP. Honestly, if you walk away from one thing from today's episode, it's please do not trade away Colby McKercher. Also, Nick Dacos surprises me too, but let's not go there. Charlie Comben. Sorry, Marty, we're going back to Charlie Comben. He's played one game this year and it was for 129. Looked really good in defence. He was taking marks. I think he had some kickouts from memory, but he looked good. He actually looked okay. He's been in the AFL system now for his 5th season. He didn't play in 2020. 2021, he played one game. 22, he played one game. 23, he played 7 games, and has not typically been a big scorer. His best was a West Coast game in round 1 last year for an 83. And that was previously as a forward, which is why he's listed as a forward now. We've not really seen this role and what he can do in it as a defender. We've not seen this. So this 129, it's unrealistic for him to continue scoring this way. Also, he's a key defender. So there's going to be times where he's going to be playing accountable and he might bang home a 40. Now, I think that with a negative 40 break even, you're probably fine. The guy's going to make you some cash. However, he needs to get through round 5 against Geelong and then round 6 before making that cash. And this guy has a horrible injury history. I would not be jumping on Charlie Comben at all. Keep an eye out on him next week, definitely. Someone that you could definitely switch to next week. But I'd be waiting for someone like him who has that injury history. I'd be waiting for that second game well before making any leaps towards that player, because honestly, no, just don't do it. Don't do it to yourself. You will be regretting it. Now, I'll go towards our Facebook comments. Let's take a look. All right, so let's go to all comments. Here we go. Top fan, Peter Mama. Thoughts on Horn-Francis Rosie? Love the Rosie pick. If you can get Rosie in your team, I'd be going to Rosie. Now, I think a lot of people are talking about Horn-Francis. I heard a few Supercoach podcasters already starting to talk about him. He's got a BE of 4, and he's had 9,500 people trading in. He started off fantastic. He has scored 112 against West Coast and 132 against Essendon. Pretty sure he was their number 1 CBA attendee this week against the Bombers, and I think against West Coast he was number 2. Now, Port seem to have a pretty firm rotation for CBAs amongst 5 players. That is Rosie, Butters, Horn-Francis, Wines, Drew. Those 5 guys. But the thing is, the number 1 and number 2 always seem to change. So one week it was... So for example, if you remember a couple of weeks ago, Butters scored a massive 175. Well, he was the number 1 CBA holder at that point in time. Then it rotates with Rosie as well. So these players it's the same 5 guys, but who is the number 1 and number 2 kind of rotate. And the thing is, he started off amazingly, but he's still... What is he, his 3rd AFL season? I know that Dacos is a gun, and this guy was apparently better than Dacos, in the sense that he was pick number 1. I know Dacos was a father and son, but this guy is insane, and he's got a good role. And don't get me wrong, he's got teams like North Melbourne coming up next, and Hawthorn, and Richmond still to come, and St Kilda, but I don't know if this is the trade-in that I would personally be making. And the reason for that is, for you to trade in Jason Horn-Francis this week, you want him to be averaging 110. Because if you're trading him in, you're most likely trading him in as a keeper, as a potential keeper. And for me, personally, I don't know if Jason... His potential's there, but I don't know if this is the year that I'd be making that move. For me, I think that we're going a year early. I think that Jason Horn-Francis is that 110 average player next year, potentially. This year, he might go 100 to 105 at best, which is not a terrible M8. It's not terrible, but I would be preferring going up and still jumping on the guys that are below 600k, like a Tuke Miller or a Steele, who have shown this in the past, and most likely will be 110 to 115 average players. I don't mind it. Personally, but for me, I would be not jumping on Horn-Francis this week. Rosie, I love Rosie. I think Rosie is, honestly, like we all talk about Butters, in the Supercoach circle, Rosie is definitely someone that we do not consider enough. He's got a break-even of 82. 588k is a bargain. An absolute bargain. His projected score's 100. He's got a pretty average record against Freo, though. So maybe you hold off on this week and pick him up against Collingwood, who he's got a really good record against. But look at his scores. 114, 90, 102, 152. Like, he hasn't been scoring badly. If that 90 is his worst case scenario, you'd be happy to have a Rosie as your M8 by season's end. And I would rather pay the extra 150k and have Rosie at M8 than probably Horn-Francis, who, let's be real, is probably going to have a few down. His down games are going to be much lower than Rosie's down games. And I just kind of want that. I would prefer to have that higher floor than a Horn-Francis. That's just myself, personally. Now, moving on. Another top fan, Edwin Formosa. I'm so sorry. I struggled there. Yes, how much cash... Wait, what? Yes, how much cash should I carry for future premium upgrades? I have 100k. So for me, in 2 weeks' time, you should have some more cash. Next week, I plan on trading down a bunch of my inflated rookies and getting a bunch of guys in the bubble, because next week we've got some really good players on bubbles. And I'll be talking about them soon as well. We have a lot of players on the bubble next week. This week we're kind of short on players on bubbles. We have a few, but they're not great. I'll go into it in a moment. But yeah, try to lock a load as much money as possible so you can move your midfielders to defense and then start getting some premium midfielders in. Guys like Jordan Dawson are going to be real cheap very soon, and I don't mind it. Mitch Z. Thoughts on Grundy to Meek and banking the cash for future upgrades? I like it. But I also don't like it. You need to consider that Reeves did not play on the weekend, and Reeves is a pretty decent ruckman. He's actually not that much. There's not much of a difference between Meek and Reeves. Reeves has been killing it in the VFL since Meek's been back in the side, and his AFL form wasn't too bad. Last year they actually went with 2 ruckmen, but Chol has actually been the chop ruckman since he's come to the club. You've got Ramsden, who actually took some ruck hit-outs over the weekend, but he'll only be in the side for as long as Mitch Lewis is out of the side. Look, keep an eye on team sheets. If Reeves is back, Meek is an absolute no. I don't mind it. The thing is, you will get some down games, and you're banking on Meek being Hawthorn's number 1 ruckman and their sole ruckman, which he looked good as against Collingwood, but remember, Hawthorn lost. They lost that game. So they might, I don't know, they might bring in a secondary tall. I'm not too sure. I think Chol has been a secondary tall in the past, so they'll probably just stick it out with him. I don't mind it. It depends what you're doing with the cash. If you're using that cash to then upgrade another player, another mid-pricer, for example, a Rankin, into someone like Flanders, I'm all about that. That's fine. But it depends what you're wanting to do. Remember that if you bring in Meek, you're banking another trade later on, because you're going to want to either have English, Gawn, or Marshall in the future. So you're banking 2 trades. And if you're boosting as well, that's a boost in 2 trades. So see what your options are. I wouldn't be messing around with your ruck line. If you're getting rid of Grundy like I'm getting rid of Grundy this week, I understand that you're messing around with your ruck line, but I personally rather be trading up, set and forgetting it, and never thinking about my ruck line again, unless there's an injury. Hopefully not. Touch wood. Simon Smith. Worth going early on clothes. Looks right at home at AFL level. Even the other GCS Rook looked okay. Now, the other Gold Coast rookie that he's talking about is Will Graham, who had 17 CBAs, by the way. He actually took Flanders' CBAs. Yeah, Flanders has gone into Sexton's position at half-back, and Will Graham has taken the 4th man as a CBA getter. That's impressive. While Clohesy? I don't know what it is. I can't pronounce his name. I'm so sorry. But he looked phenomenal on the weekend. So I don't like going early on players. I really don't. I'm really against it, because you end up like having Caulfield on your bench, injured for 12 weeks. But, I mean, you can't predict injuries, but I highly doubt this kid's getting dropped. I really highly doubt it. He looked fantastic. There was an article this week on AFL's website as well. Gold Coast, they went with a heavy youth change over the weekend, and it paid off in spades, and they're sticking to it. It looks good. It looks good. They dropped a lot of their senior players. They've brought in Clohesy. It takes one bad game for him to be dropped. Just remember that. But he looked so good on the weekend. And at 102k, he's a basement price defender. I like it. He's most likely going to get midfield status as well. I like it. He's the only one that I'm going early on. Will Graham is someone that I'll most likely be picking up next week when he's on his bubble, and I'll be looking at Charlie Comben as well. But Will Graham is the one that I'm really keen on for next week. But no, I would only be going early on one of them. I would not be. I've seen guys on Facebook going on early on all 3 of them and Reddit. Don't do that. That is dumb. Don't do that. Just don't do that. That's all I can say. Let's take a look. Lau. I'm looking for another Primo Jordan upgrade. Yep, please get Jordan out of your side. Is it too late to get Heaney after his bye? Or Merritt/Neil was the other option. Okay, so Neil's been pretty good. He's kind of quietly having a very good season as well. Heaney, I love, and we saw with Taylor Adams back in the side, Heaney was still great. He was still fantastic. He was getting outside as well. He looked great. He's in Brownlow form at the moment. Like, that's not going to change. Just to remember that Parker's might be a chance of coming back after this bye. And also Taylor Adams is building on that fitness, so he will get more CBA time. I don't think this is going to be an issue, though. I'd be going for Heaney. If you can, get Heaney. I like Merritt. So if you're going to go for all three, one of these guys, for me, it'd be Heaney, number 1. Merritt, number 2. Neil, number 3. Merritt has been fantastic. I think he's got a good record as well coming up. I really wanted to start Merritt this year, and I just couldn't fit him in, and I kind of regret that. But look at that! Wow, 127, 132, 131, 136. It's pretty impressive, and he's got a decent record against the Dogs, a massive record against Adelaide, Collingwood as well. Do you know what? He's got West Coast and North and Richmond coming up. I take it back. I'm changing my priority. Get Merritt in. Holy shit. I might be going for Merritt soon too. That looks tantalizing. So Lau, Merritt, please. Lulu, and you've got a picture of a cat. Are you a cat? That's cool. Scott Warwick. Who's likely to get ruck added to their DDP? Sam Darcy. Sam Darcy is the most likely to get ruck status. He's been rucking a lot. You know, someone else that might get ruck status that no one's really talking about is Cadman. It's a possibility. He has been getting some ruck time. He will need to get more ruck time over the next 2 to 3 games in order to do it, but he's a chance, I suppose. Darcy is the big one. Because he's got a lot more money to make. He's got a negative 21 break even. And that's with the projected 55, which he's probably going to score more than, because look at this. This is fantastic. He's playing Essendon, who is shithouse. At best. Literally at best. So he was the only one that's most likely going to get ruck status. Sam Darcy. Benny Dransby. How long do you think before they ban tackling? Okay, I'm just going to leave that. Look, honestly, I know that it is sometimes frustrating to watch when these things happen and, they get suspended when they're trying. But, it's not too bad. I mean, it's not too bad. Just don't hit the player high. You should be right. That's it. Concussion's pretty bad. The after effects are pretty bad. We've seen this. I know that it sucks, but players are just going to have to adapt and get smarter with their tackling, which they actually have. This year has been pretty good compared to last. Dallas Scott got 120k in the bank. Is it too early to move on Cadman to get to Flanders, or go D'Ambrosio to someone like Hayden Young? Now he's bottomed out. Fielding 21 this week and still have Howes, Caulfield and Sexton. Well, I kind of answered your question there, because Howes is maxed out, Caulfield is not playing for 12 weeks, and Sexton has been dumped, and I can't see him getting back in that team while Flanders is there. Personally, I like Flanders myself. I believe that he is going to be a top 6 forward. Hayden Young, I don't think is going to be a top 6 defender. He might be 8. He might push for that 10 to 8 top 8 defender, potentially. But Flanders is going to be top 6 in his line. So I think Flanders is a better choice. Thing is, you've got Sexton and Howes. If you could turn Howes and Sexton into Flanders plus 120k, I can't bother doing the math on that. That's where I would go. Cadman has still got a little bit of money to make. I think he's got a negative break even from memory, if it lets me click on him. He's got a negative 3 break even. He's projected to score a 53. He's going up another 25k. Nah, don't get rid of Cadman. No, don't get rid of Cadman at all. I think that's a bad decision. Yeah, sorry, Dalla. If you can get rid of Howes, Caulfield, and Sexton, and somehow get into Flanders, that'd be the way that I'd go. Lewis Grigg, trading out Fisher, Jordan, and Wilson for Flanders, but not sure how to spend $445K on the other two spots. Okay. So you're trading out a forward and two forward mids in order to get another forward. Now, I don't know where you have Jordan and Wilson in your side. I don't know if they're in your forward line or if they're in your midfield. So I'm just going to assume one of them is in your forward line. So I'm assuming Fisher and Jordan are in your forward line and Wilson's in your midfield. I'm just assuming that. You've got $445K. Now, you've got some options. There's not many rookies on the bubble. It depends on who you don't have. If you don't have someone like McKercher or Sanders, I think that's someone that you need to pick. They're two players that you need to pick up. There's still money to be made with Sam Darcy. If you missed out on him, you could go him. I think Harley Reid, his break-even's at 12. I probably wouldn't go Harley Reid. You could probably go early on a Will Graham, potentially. I wouldn't go early on two of those players that I mentioned before. Yep, that's what I would do. Try to trade someone down who's still going to make some money. You're not going to get much for that $445K. So, yeah, I'd be trading down. I wouldn't be going for someone like Sharp. I missed out on Sharp myself. I did a toss-up at the start of the year between Mana and Sharp, and I picked Mana purely because he had DDP, and I thought that would help, especially in a season where we've got really minimal flexibility. That decision's completely shat on my face. So he's already made 131K. He's going to make another 100K. I have fucked that up. That is probably the mistake that I hate the most. Was picking Mana over Sharp, but Mana was still, for those holding Mana, he was named in the extended bench, so there's a chance that he gets back in the side. So fingers crossed, because he is technically on his bubble. And they're all the questions, I believe. That's it. I hope I answered everything as to the best of my ability. Now moving on to some of the rookies that are on that bubble. I mentioned Mana. He is technically on his bubble. He's got a negative 19 break even, which is not terrible. He's got DDP. I don't mind it. He's got North this week if they bring him back. However, he's missed the last two games. Fingers crossed they bring him back, because I really need some cash to be made from my bench, as my bench is looking quite gross at the moment. We also have, I mentioned Howes and Berry have maxed out. We've also got Tyler Sonzi, who's on his Richmond midfielder, who's on his bubble, but I wouldn't be going to him. He was someone that I looked, He was someone that I looked at the start of the season. He's 150K. He is a forward. He's got talent, don't get me wrong, he's got talent, but he's not getting CBAs, and he's playing a lot of half forward. He's got a 9 break even, which is not terrible, and he'll make it 10K this week if he hits a 33. But the guy hasn't been setting the world on fire. A 33 and a 44. He's got West Coast this week, so he should score probably better than that break even. But he's just not. Look, he's had decent scores and okay scores in the past. Please do not look at that -6 in 2023. Look, there's something there. He's got talent, but I wouldn't be picking Tyler Sonzi. Then you've also got another player that's on his bubble, and that is Angus Hastie. And someone mentioned him in another post this week. Hastie's on his bubble, his St Kilda defender. He's actually projected to lose 14K from 117. So he's worth 117K and he's going to lose 14K. His break-even's up 48, his projection's 16. He's been the sub twice. He scored a 1 against Richmond and 18 against Essendon. I feel bad for the kid. The kid's probably got some talent. I didn't see much of him. I'm pretty sure he played a minute over the weekend. Don't look at Hasty. Don't look at him for a Supercoach perspective. However, if St Kilda gets some injuries and this kid actually starts on the field and starts scoring okay, he might be someone that you could bring in a couple of weeks when he starts to bottom out closer to that 102k mark, because he's probably going to get close to that price. And then if he starts, his break even will then reset. So I'm going to be honest, like, maybe keep an eye out on Hasty, because if his break even resets after he starts getting fielded, like, he could still make you money, just not this week. Don't bring him in this week. That's stupid. Don't do that. So then it goes back to these guys that we're talking about trading in early, and I've already mentioned Clohesy, who I'm going for. I'm going to go early on him because he looked fantastic and he's 102k basement price. And let's be real, he's also got Gold Coast, who's got a lot of Sunday games, so you could use him as a loop later on if need be. Worst case. Will Graham, he's just a little bit more expensive, defensive mid. I do like the DDP, so I understand why you'd pick him ahead of Clohesy, but he wasn't as good. Did get a lot of CBA time. Let's be real, I think he's going to be the player that I bring in next week for someone like Manor, who isn't playing, or Tom Berry, who is maxed out and who I'm going to have to keep for one more week, unfortunately, which means he's probably going to lose me 10k, which is annoying, but it is what it is. Now, if you look at this, yes, Cadman should be on my field, don't get me wrong. I'm looping Cadman's score onto the field using Heaney if Cadman does well. If Cadman bombs, because Cadman plays so much earlier in the round, I'm then going to take a punt on Berry. I'm going to be doing the same between Clark and Wilson using Roberts. So that's why I'm going with these options, because Wilson and Cadman play before Berry and Clark, and then I can loop my two non-playing bench players on the bye if need be. If you've got a similar setup, try to win your rookie roulette that way. Another one I want to keep an eye on is Zach Williams, who has had scans for hamstring issues. Now, Michael Voss... Is Michael Voss? Is it Michael? Oh my God, I've had a massive brain fade. Yeah, it is Voss. Voss has said that that he is all okay, but he still had a scan. His fourth quarter was pretty bad. Now, he's scoring well. His break even is still low. It's now a 7, which he should get. He should make you about 35k this week, potentially. He's got a good record against Adelaide, like a really good record against Adelaide, and he's actually scoring okay. If you take away that Richmond game, he's doing quite well. He's got more money to make. I don't want to get rid of him, but if he doesn't play this week and it looks like he's out for a couple of weeks, I will consider maybe getting rid of him. It's best 18. If it's a 1 week injury and he's just being rested for a week, I might even just hold him through the bye, personally. I've already got 21 players playing, so because of day costs, and I have no bench cover. So that's annoying, but hypothetically, if Zach Williams misses for 1 week, like literally just 1 week, that's 20 players, which means I've still got 2 more than best 18, so I'm okay. So don't panic. Don't panic. If it's a 1 week injury, just hold on to Zach Williams. Just don't worry. Now, I'm going to go into just taking a look, players to bring in. So this is the trade that I'm doing this week, most likely. Obviously subject to team sheets. Blake Howes, as I said, he's maxed out. We've got Clohesy that I want to bring in. Grundy out. He hasn't done what I wanted him to do. I wanted him to make me I thought he was going to make me some cash. He was going to score pretty well. That 103 average is inflated by one really good game. Outside of that, he's been a bit meh. And he scored only a 93 against Bailey Williams with West Coast. This is the week that I get rid of Rankin. I've persisted for 4 weeks, and he's actually the 26th highest scoring forward, and he's 23rd in average. The likelihood of him being a top 8 forward has now, it's too low. He doesn't have that role that he did have in the preseason. Adelaide looked better when he was playing midfield, and they're just not giving him that role that we thought that he was going to have, which he had throughout all the match simulations and throughout the preseason competition. And his scoring has been an issue because of that. He did kick 1 goal 3 over the weekend, so you turn that around. I suppose he may have turned up, which may have changed my mind on getting rid of him. But ultimately, I believe Flanders is someone that is a top 6 forward, and he's averaging way more. He's just scoring better. He's got flexibility. He's still 550k. I'm just gonna get a player that is going to be better. He's just going to be better overall. So for me, I'm looking at it as I'm trading out Howes, who's maxed out for Clohesy, banking the cash plus the money I have to then trade Grundy up to Marshall and trade Rankin up to Flanders. And that's how I'm treating it. I'm treating it as literally, like, I prefer to have Flanders in my side than Rankin. I prefer to have Grundy in my... Marshall in my side over Grundy. Marshall, he might get rested, but who else do St Kilda really have? So if he gets rested, he probably will still turn up because he's not going to be rested that much. They don't have other ruck options. And he's got West Coast coming up twice still. He's got a good bye. Most teams are going to have Max Gawn missing next week. So most teams are going to have Max Gawn missing, and I'm going to have both English and Marshall playing. So for me, I feel like that is going to give me a pretty decent edge on the competition next week. He's actually dropped quite a bit of cash, Marshall, as well. He's come off 147. He's got some decent matchups coming up against the Giants and the Dogs and Port Adelaide, who he's got a huge record against. Honestly, I'm getting Marshall. And they're kind of the moves that I'm making. And now, before I finish up, I want to go into the captain and vice-captain options for the week. Now, as you can see, I'm going Bontempelli into Butters. However, Bontempelli doesn't have a great option against Essendon, while someone like Tim English does. So it'll either be Bontempelli or Tim English into Butters. For myself, personally, that's what I'm going to be doing myself. However, I think there's a lot of other options as well this week, because honestly, my captaincies have just been Heaney, but basically Heaney, that's it. It's been Butters and Heaney all year. So this week we've got Melbourne versus Brisbane. Now, I don't really love anyone from this game. Lachie Neale, let's take a look. Lachie Neale is someone... Let's see what his record is against Melbourne. Not good. Okay, so don't pick Neale. Not Neale. Petrarca. What's his record? It's a bit meh. Nah, I don't like it. I don't like it at all. Gawn, what's his record against... Wow. He scored 215 against Brisbane last year. Yeah, if you've got Gawn, put the VC on Gawn. I hate not having Gawn. Why did he score? If he didn't score a 65 round 1 or 64, I would have started Gawn. Ugh, gross. Anyway, if you're wanting to do a VC loop on Thursday, it's got to be Max Gawn and nobody else. Friday, as I said, either Tim English, who's also got a great record against the Dogs. I'll show you his record. I'm pretty sure he scored a massive 200 against them once. Yep, 204 in 2020, 123 in 134. I'm probably going to change this, actually. I'm probably going to change it to English. Bontempelli, he just has never had a massive record against... That 126 last year is actually his best record against the Bombers. So, yeah, no, I'm changing it back. No, I'm pussing out. No, I'm changing it back to Bond. I just can't do it. Bond's just the safer option. If you've got Zach Merritt, here's another good option as well. Saturday, GWS versus St Kilda. I don't mind Tom Green. I don't mind Ryan Marshall in this game either. I think that he could go big against the Giants. Carlton versus Adelaide, I don't really like anybody. The Suns, Hawthorn, Matt Rowell. Matt Rowell is the one in this one. that'd be the guy that I'd pick if I was doing so inclined. And the next game, is Port Adelaide versus Fremantle, and Zach Butters, Connor Rosie, those Caleb's are wrong. They're the three that I would pick. However, I think you've got better vice-captain options earlier in the round. So, for example, Max Gawn here, you've got Bontempelli, Merritt, and English here. But if you're really struggling, surely you've probably then got, Tom Green here that you could go to, or a Steele. And if you're still struggling, well, then you're probably struggling this year. In general, you could go a Suns player here, but yeah, if your only VC options here, again, you're not having a great season. I like Butters myself. I like Sarong. I like Rosie. Sunday, I actually don't like Sunday at all. Sunday's gross. I don't think any of us have any premium Cats players. I don't think any of them are Supercoach relevant outside of a Stewart, potentially, and I don't know how his record is against North when it loads. His record against North, he scored 152 in 2021. It's not bad. It's not bad. You're really scraping the barrel if you're waiting for your captain score against North Melbourne from a defender. It'd be a POD, it'd be a decent shout, but nah, I don't love it. I don't think many of us have anyone from Richmond. I wouldn't be picking anyone from West Coast, but not that we have anyone from West Coast, but outside of Harley Reid and Livingston, who I hope plays this year one day. I hope he does. I don't know, if you pick someone, who would it be? Maybe a Hopper if he's back, but I don't think he is. You got Toronto, who... You know what? Shai Bolton, I'm pretty sure tore West Coast apart last year. And I mind Toronto, actually. He's not bad. But I wouldn't pick him as captain. He's not captain-worthy for this week. Shai Bolton was fantastic last week. This is a guy, he was in my preseason side for most of the year, and then he just didn't do very well. Yeah, here it is. Round 8, 2023, scored 152. Wow, he's got a really good record. If you've got Shai Bolton, I don't mind him as a late Hail Mary captaincy. He started off slow, but has really started to pick up. His last 2 games have been very good. And I can see him going big against West Coast, who he's got a very good record against. This is the kind of guy that can be top 6 in his side. Just want to see, what is he currently? Go forward only. Shai Bolton has scored the 4th most out of all forwards. I don't mind it. I really don't mind it. And his average is much lower. Puts him at 13th. He's not too bad. He's scoring a 94. It's not bad. It's not bad. It takes into account Comben, who's played only 1 game. Mackay won't keep that up. Hogan won't keep that up. Zorko's bound to get suspended. This is an interesting one. I don't mind it, but again, he won't keep it up. Adams has only played 1 game. He might keep it up. So in reality, Bolton is probably about 10th in reality currently, because some of these guys have only played 1 really good game. I don't mind it. I don't mind Bolton as a little interesting, POD. He's gonna make 21. He's negative 40. He's got a 43 break even and 29k. Interesting. Do you know what? If you've already got Flanders in your side, and you want to upgrade someone, upgrade into a forward, I don't mind a Shai Bolton. You know what? I'm going to keep an eye on him. Definitely. He's definitely someone on my watch list. Shai Bolton. Definitely someone on my watch list. Anyway, that's it. That's all from me. Thanks a lot for listening in, watching my round 5 episode. Please make sure to subscribe on YouTube, Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, or X. And I'll be back same place next week. Thanks, guys.